My friends, it was the Christian theologian St. Thomas Aquinas who said the following: those who believed in Mohammed from the outset were not wise men practiced in things divine and human, but beast-like men who dwelt in the wilds, utterly ignorant of all divine teaching. And it was by a multitude of such men and the force of arms that he compelled others to submit to his law. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Riell Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr, and in the book Riell Truth, Stay Angry. And of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. The call-in number is 877-254-7524. My friends, welcome back. The last time we spoke, over 100 human beings had not been slaughtered in Paris, and hundreds more had not been wounded by Muslim terrorists. Well, I've got nothing glib or wiseacre for you today. I am mourning. I am mourning the tragic deaths. I am mourning the tragedy that Western countries have known for a long, long time, that these things not only could happen, but would happen and will happen and were inevitable, and the Western countries have done nothing. Just in the last couple of days, just since Friday, 10,000 Syrian migrants have come to the United States. Hundreds of thousands of more of them are set to come here, even as hordes of millions of Muslims sweep into Europe. Leaders don't know what to do, and the only reason that they don't know what to do is they don't listen to this show, which shows that you are smarter than all the leaders here in the United States and Europe. This is not something to be funny about. This is a horrible, horrible tragedy, not only for those people who've been murdered and their families, and not just for the victims and their families who will be murdered in the future. It's a tragedy for Western civilization, which is being broken apart into little fragments in a variety of ways. This is just the most obvious way. You have more than 1.5 billion human beings whose holy book tells them never stop killing non-Muslims. And totally blind, deaf, dumb Western countries continue to say, sure, come on in, it's okay. And this is the inevitable result. Believe me, as I've said on this show many times, I love saying I told you so, but not now. Not in the wake of tragedy. I've quoted Winston Churchill 12 times on the show. I'll do it again. He said, 9/10 of wisdom consists of being wise in time. And for the people in France, their time came, because the French authorities were not wise in time. And by the way, here we are, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days after the attacks, they're still not wise. They're still not wise. Because now they're talking about maybe, possibly, could just be they want to take a look at their immigration policies. No one is talking about emptying the country of its Muslims. No one. No one's talking about it. And as I'm watching the coverage on television over the last couple of days, this light is going off in my head, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with these people? There is a solution to Islamic terror. There is a cure. There is a cure. If there are no Muslims in your country, then there can be no Muslims committing active terror. This is a fact. And instead of solving the problem, Western countries are wringing their hands, and they're singing sad songs, and they're reading eulogies, and paving the way for more innocent men, women, and children to be slaughtered. Well, that's not good enough for me. And if you're listening to my radio show or watching on the internet, my guess is it's not good enough for you either. You don't want to see innocent men, women, and children killed. No civilized person, no intelligent, sane person does. Well, when you've got a disease, you've got to cure it. And we, Western civilization, have not found the resolve. We've not got the intestinal fortitude to purge the body politic of this infection. And so, yeah, I love to say I told you so, and I'm going to be saying a lot more of it, sadly, in the weeks and months and years to come, because what we've seen now, this is just the beginning. This is just the intro. This is still groundbreaking. Can you believe it happened? Wait, it's a hop, skip, and a jump to, oh yeah, I know it happened again. Who won the Mets game the other day? It'll become matter of fact if you're old enough to remember. I'm an old geezer. I was just a kid, but I remember the news reports from Vietnam. In the beginning, they were shocking. And before you knew it, people were, yeah, I've seen this already. What else is happening? It got old hat. It got commonplace. That's what's going to be happening with this kind of thing, with terrorist attacks. Unless Western civilizations get smart and get tough. The only person on the national stage I'm hearing talking about closing mosques is Donald Trump. That's because he's a businessman and one of the best, and he fixes problems. Other people are talking about ameliorating problems. Trump a few weeks ago was talking about these 200,000 Syrians, I guess, 200,000, anyway, Muslims that Obama has said he's going to be bringing in. And Trump said, if I'm president, they're going home. No one else has said that. So when you want to know why I'm a Trump supporter, this is why, among other reasons. But this is why. Because when you have a problem, especially a problem that threatens your national security, that threatens the very fabric of your society, you damn well better solve it. Not just make it a little bit less terrible. You got to solve it. Only Trump is talking about solving it. Same thing with the illegal Mexicans, illegal South and Central Americans. He's not talking about possibly curbing the number who come here and allowing those who are here to stay. He's talking about stopping them from coming here cold and taking those already here and sending them back. That's called solving a problem. Woe to our generation, in which actually addressing a problem head on and solving it is so alien a concept. We've gotten so used to problems, we almost don't know what we do without them. It's Monday, and it's Riell Truth. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Don't go anywhere. It's an order.
Rehabilitation and nursing center of Iraqis reminds everyone the chance of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of Iraqis. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981. Now, this is the testimony of John when the Jews sent 3 Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny his confession. "I am not the Messiah." As they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, provide money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
All right, folks, welcome back. Howard Riell Truth. As you would guess, in the wake of the attacks on Friday, I've got a ton of material to present to you. Let's start with, let's see. This comes from Fox News. It is Megyn Kelly, and it's she has a former Al-Qaeda informant revealing what everybody's missing about the Paris attacks. It's got some good insights. That's why I thought you'd like it. So listen in.
France's official news outlet.
Yeah, let me answer that question, my friends. Let me answer that question. Why hasn't it happened here? Well, first of all, 9/11. So it has happened here. Number two, hasn't happened here because they don't need to do it here, because they've got one of their people in the White House and he's doing far more damage than anybody in a shrapnel vest can ever do. Number three, it will happen here. Also, number four, I'll throw this in. It may indeed have happened here, and the police and the FBI and the CIA have covered it up and not permitted the media to know about it or report on it. So those four, that's what I would say. Let's see what this yokel has to say.
Or what stops it from happening here? Do you know?
Folks, let me cut back in here. What this guy says is right. We need to get rid of anybody who's got links to Islamic terror groups. Well, there's just one tiny little problem. Every Muslim is linked to what these Muslims are doing because they all read the exact same Quran. They have the same prophet, same teachings, and they're sworn a vow of loyalty to each other. They are the Islamic Ummah, the world community. And so for all those reasons, they are all connected. They are all supporters. They're all accomplices, even if they're not actually blowing anybody up, even if they're not actually involved in hiding the actual terrorists. They all offer a comfort zone for their fellow Muslims. And so he's right. We've got to deport everyone who's connected to extremist Islam. The sucky part is every Muslim, one way or another, is connected to extremist Islam. Let's finish this up.
Wiping out a group like this.
Stop. What do you mean a ban on political and military Islam? What exactly is military and political Islam? That's a ridiculous delineation to make. All of Islam is military and political. And even if it weren't, how would you tell one Muslim from another? You can't. It sucks when I make sense, right?
People who have links from outside.
Okay, now how are you going to know someone's ideology? If you've got thousands, hundreds of thousands of Muslims coming in, are you going to stop them at the gate into Europe and say, now, what's your ideology? It's ridiculous on its face. I don't know why this guy, who appears to be a sharp cookie, I don't know why he's saying something so stupid.
That's tough. That's tough to do.
It's impossible. All right, well, stop right there, my friends. You know I like Ted Cruz a lot, and I respect Ted Cruz, and I'd be very happy if Ted Cruz became president. But he's just said basically nothing. This is an escalation? Well, duh, so what? If you're running for president, don't just tell me it's an escalation. I know that. Tell me how we can stop it from happening again. Tell me how we fix the problem. But Ted Cruz is under the same constraints as all politicians. He's got to remain popular. And if he were to say something like, I don't know, like what I say, if he were to actually try and solve the problem instead of just being nice to people, then he'd lose support and he'd never get elected, which is why, by the way, I will never get elected to office because I'm too honest, I'm too straightforward, and I'm too direct. And for some reason, Americans have this mania that except for Donald Trump, we don't want anyone to talk to us like we're adults. And maybe that's the worst the worst disease afflicting the United States. We don't want adult leadership. We want people to tell us yes all the time. And that's killing us. Yes.
You know what?
My friends, when common sense and logic are defeated, then we're defenseless. We're defenseless. Talk to liberals. They still want Muslims coming into this country by the hundreds of thousands. So when you've got a good solid wall between you and the bad guys, and the liberals kick open the door and let them inside, there's no hope. No hope. Once we decide to keep that gate shut, then there's hope. All right, let's go through it. Item from ABC News. A growing number of states are refusing to take in Syrian refugees among heightened security concerns following Friday's terrorist attacks in Paris. Michigan and Alabama were the first states in the country to refuse relocating Syrian refugees on Sunday, and they've now been joined by Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Indiana, Illinois, Massachusetts, Arizona, North Carolina, and Mississippi. Stop. I didn't hear Colorado in there anywhere. Anybody in my listening audience got a telephone? You know who your congressmen and senators are? You know what I'm about to tell you to do? Governor Rick Snyder of Michigan, Robert Bentley of Alabama. I'm not going to go through the list. You've heard the main point. Item from Bloomberg. You're going to have to watch and study the mosques because a lot of talk is going on at the mosques, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says on MSNBC when asked what should be done to protect U.S. citizens. Quote, from what I heard in the old days, meaning a while ago, we had great surveillance going on in and around mosques in New York City, and I understand our mayor totally cut that out. Asked about the possibility of France shutting mosques with radical ties and whether he'd do the same in the U.S., as President Trump says, quote, I would hate to do it, but it's something you're going to have to strongly consider because some of the ideas and some of the hatred, the absolute hatred, is coming from those areas, unquote. Donald Trump is beginning to sound like a politician, and that worries me. The answer is to shut down all of the mosques. Why? Because nothing less than that will do. Item from Bloomberg. House Speaker Paul Ryan said he supports allowing undocumented immigrants to remain in the U.S. without gaining citizenship, and that he doesn't believe mass deportation, an idea promoted by Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, is feasible. Stop! My friends, this overwhelming sense of frustration that Americans feel, especially Republicans. Why don't the Republicans go to bat for us? Why don't the Republicans do what they say they're going to do? Why don't the Republicans stand up to Obama and the Democrats? Well, now that we got rid of John Boehner, now they will, right? The fix is in, my friends. Fix is in. No one is going to stand up for conservative principles when it matters. Here's Paul Ryan. He took over for John Boehner, and he doesn't mind illegal immigrants staying in America. Even though it's patently obvious that most Americans, certainly most Republicans, want the illegals to be sent out, Paul Ryan has no intention of doing that. What, he should do it just because the American people want it? Screw the American people, says Paul Ryan. He's part of the machine. The machine wants it to happen, and so that's what will be. All right, another break. We'll be back.
How can we, the people, bring back to the people servant center of the run, he reminds everyone the death of involvement in an auto accident rises dramatically with the consumption of alcohol or use of drugs. Please think before you drive. Don't let drugs or alcohol ruin your life or take the lives of others. You are responsible for your own safety as well as the safety of those around you. This message from Rehabilitation and Nursing Center of the Rockies. For information on their services, call 970-484-7981. Open Cold. Brought to you by the Patriot Trading Group at allamericans.com. Reason number 647. Most people don't even know that the courts have already ruled what money is deposited into the bank owns the money, and the depositor is merely an unsecured creditor of the bank. Which means that the bank goes under, you get paid less. After the financial crisis, instead of breaking up to take the bail, the government and the Federal Reserve created Dodd-Frank and made you make the bail bank even bigger, while putting your deposits more at risk. I'm Joe Jacobs, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. To learn more, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592. And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16. Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by hope or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
I am Howard Riell. The show is called Riell Truth. Welcome back. You know, it's a mixed blessing. I never, ever run short of material to talk about on this show, which is good for the purposes of doing a radio show and horrible for America. Alan Dershowitz was on Fox News talking about another of the cancers that's eating away at the American body politic, the fact that students today don't know the first thing about freedom of speech and don't care about it. They've been so dogmatized, if I can invent a word, so indoctrinated by college professors, liberal college professors, and the liberal media, which is where they live, that they no longer value the freedoms that Americans have fought and died for. Anyway, no long speech. Here's Alan Dershowitz on Fox News talking about college students who haven't got a clue. Let's listen.
Breaking tonight, an unbelievable new twist in the so-called as one student government reportedly rejects a plan to honor the victims of September 11th over worries that acknowledging the tragedy by, quote, non-white perpetrators, unquote, increase racist attitudes on campus. That's where we are today. Welcome to Kindergarten, Students say they are currently working in the September 11th
the students at universities who first started burning books during the Nazi regime. And these students
The fog of fascism, absolutely correct. Dershowitz is absolutely right. This is fascism. Now, for the people who are going to say, oh, look at these young kids, they're innocent, they're hopeful out there, how can you say they're fascist? I can say it because they're fascists. They're fascists. They want a safe place where no ideas or words will hurt them. But when it came to drawing a Hitler mustache that they knew Dershowitz would see on his picture, well, they didn't care. These are kids who aren't thinking. These are non-thinking kids, not much of a surprise because they come from a largely non-thinking generation. My generation, the worst generation of parents that I'm aware has existed. We've raised these kids without telling them what freedom means, what America means, what it means to have values, and all they know is pop culture. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Just as Islamic terrorists destroy bodies, these kids are destroying their brains and their souls. And if you told them that, they wouldn't believe you. Item from jjmccartney.com. As if anybody needed any more evidence that Barack Obama is unfit to lead our nation, consider his obstinate refusal to utter the word Islamic and terrorism in the same sentence, paragraph, or chapter. 3 days after Islamic immigrant terrorists bombed, shot and terrorized their way through a sporting event, a restaurant, and a concert hall, Obama has quietly released another 5 Gitmo detainees to the United Arab Emirates, while he also insists that the U.S. accept 100,000 Muslim refugees this year. Thankfully, America's governors are starting to stand in defiance of Obama's idiotic, managed invasion by refusing to accept the Muslim refugees. We will be back. All right, guys, I'm signing off. share this video, or else, I'm just kidding, but share the video anyway. Hasta luego.